then out onto your yard. The roof is the watershed, the gutters are the creeks, and then where they drain out is going to be the reservoir. There are hundreds of watersheds throughout the United States, and they cover very large geographical areas, like the Mississippi watershed, which is in 33 different states. Let's look at some locations in Pearland that are part of our watershed. This is part of the 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 watershed.
Hi, I'm Justin Bauer. I'm a principal planner with the Houston-Galveston Area Council, and I manage the Clear Creek Watershed Partnership. So the Clear Creek Watershed Partnership is a locally led voluntary organization that is working to clean the water in Clear Creek and its tributaries. So Clear Creek is part of a much bigger area that includes the city of Pearland. And when we talk about Clear Creek, we're talking about its watershed, all the land that drains into tributaries and then into
All right, good evening. We're going to go ahead and get started. Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for Monday, May 1st, 2023. I have 6:30 on the nose. Call this meeting to order. We have a quorum. We have all 7 commissioners here today, which is awesome. It's been a while. Glad everybody's here, new and old. To the point in the agenda, the introduction of agenda and format of the hearing. Mr. Mohammed.
Thank you.
Sure.
Chairman of the commission. Good evening. So format of the meeting, first start with call of order, and then the first item will be the staff report, and then it will be followed by public comments or presentation, I should say, from the applicant. Then after the applicant's presentation, the chairman will open the public hearing and we'll give the public a chance to speak on support or opposition to the request. If you signed up a paper, a green sheet, please turn it in and just make sure that you state your name and address for the record up at the podium, and just make sure that you're brief and to the point and within 3 minutes time frame. Then after the public hearing, there will be a discussion between city staff and the commission. And then after that, the commission will vote on the item of the request, whether to recommend approval as presented, approval with conditions, or denial of the request, or they can also table the request. The city council will take the cases that we have on the business section of the agenda tonight. We have a zone case and a CUP, and these hearings will be on Monday, May 22nd. On the agenda tonight, we have the consent agenda. We have 2 items on the consent agenda. The first one is the excusal of the absence of the Commissioner Brad Kuhn from the April 17 meeting. And also we have approval of the minutes of the April 17 meetings. Then on the business section of the agenda, we have a couple items tonight. First item is actually old business. It's a CUP request that was discussed by the Planning and Zoning Commission on the March 20 regular meeting. The commission wanted to the applicant, the business owner, to be present so they could have the chance to ask them questions to them. And then the second item, again, the first item is a CUP request for a property located at 3220 Kirby Drive, Suite 120. It's for a massage establishment in the GB district. Second item is a zone change request from general business to planned development. The property is located at the northeast corner of Cullen Parkway and Fight Road. And with that, I will go ahead and turn back to the chairman. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mohammed. We are, as mentioned, the consent agenda. Item A, consideration possible action to excuse absence of Commissioner Kuhn from the April 17th meeting, 2023, and consideration possible action approval of minutes from the same meeting, April 17th, 2023. Do I have a motion to approve those items in the consent agenda?
A motion to approve, Chair. This is Commissioner Fortis.
Do I have a second?
Commissioner McCatherine, I second.
All right, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion carries 7-0. All right. Seeing no other items removed from the consent agenda, we're on to new business. Item number 6, number 1 of new business, commission input and discussion, conditional use permit application CUP 23-04. Excuse me, this is a public hearing request by Robert McDonald, applicant, on behalf of Yunhon Lee, owner, for approval of a conditional use permit CUP for a massage establishment use on approximately 1.4785 acres of land located within a general business or GB district. General location being 3220 Kirby Drive, Suite 120, Pearland, Texas. Do I have a motion? Nope, I'm sorry. This is a conditional use permit. Just as a reminder, on a conditional use permit, it's for discussion items only. However, at the end of discussion, the commission, per commissioner, will express how they would vote if we could vote. The discussions and intended votes would be passed on, or being passed on to city council, and they will take them under advisement when they meet on the May 22nd for approval or review of this item. Do we have staff report?
Thank you, Chairman. This is an old item that was discussed by the Commission at the March 20 P&Z meeting. And just for the sake of the public, I will go ahead and run the presentation again. So it's a request for conditional use permit to allow massage establishment use within the general business district on approximately 1.4785 acres of land located at 3220 Kirby Drive, Suite 120. The Commission actually conducted a public hearing and discussed this request at their meeting, as mentioned. And the Commission, at the end of that meeting, voted to table the request for a future meeting so that the business owner can attend and answer the questions, answer the Commission's questions. Staff did send a public notice to adjacent property owners, and a sign was placed on the subject property. So far, staff have not received any public comments regarding this request. This is the zoning map, and it shows the property again located within the general business district. It's the area that's highlighted by the yellow polygon, and it is surrounded by the R2 district across the street from Kirby on the east side. It's also surrounded by the residential estate district along the west side, and the general business district from the north, and the RE also from the south. Moving on to the future land use designation, the property is designated on the future land use plan as a public, semi-public, or public and semi-public uses. And this is a aerial map, and it shows the surrounding uses highlighted. Basically from the east side, there's a detention pond that's associated with the Southern Trail subdivision. Along the north side, there's a self-storage and a detention pond. And then on the west side are just the athletic fields for the Alvin ISD or Richardson Shadow Creek High School. History, the property is currently was recently developed as 8,000 square foot retail building, and that was in 2019. Here's a view of that existing shopping center. And this site plan shows the location of that suite within that 8,000 square feet building. It's the Suite 120 as highlighted in the exhibit here. And these are what we call the conformity table, how the proposed use conforms to various city plans, and the proposed use basically conforms to 3 of those criteria, with the exception of that future land use plan designation, which is public, semi-public. That is something that we will take care of with the future land use plan for that whole retail building. And here are the criteria, 7 criteria for approval of conditional use permits. The proposed use is consistent with all 7 criteria, with the exception of that future land use designation for public, semi-public. And with that being said, staff recommends approval of the requested CUP for the massage establishment. And that concludes the staff report.
Thank you, Mohammed. Is the applicant here for their presentation? All right, if you would step to the podium and begin your presentation. Just, if you'll remind us, state your name and your address for the record. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Robert MacDonald, and I'm the applicant signee for the massage, to establish the massage establishment. We were here a few weeks ago, and I brought the owner of the massage business here to answer your questions. Let me present to you Miss Natalie Canada.
Have to low down. Good evening. My name is Natalie Canada. Nice to meet you guys. And you have some questions for me? Sorry, sometimes I don't speak well English. Yeah.
No, that's fine. Did you have a formal presentation, or you're just here for questions?
About what? Sorry.
That's okay.
Pardon me. As we left off at the last meeting, was left open-ended, that one of y'all had some questions for the owner. And I don't know if you may have that in the minutes.
Okay. Well, we'll if that concludes your presentation as it stands, if you'll just stay handy, we're going to go to the commissioners and well, first we're going to ask if anyone's here to like to speak for or against this item.
Before we move on, Chair, Miss Canada, is it? Are you formerly Miss Lee?
Mr. Lee is the owner of the shopping center.
Okay,
Miss
so
Canada?
you're the owner of the business, and then Hyun Lee is the owner of the property.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure we get the right name for the right thing. Appreciate that.
Okay, so she's part of the application process, so we have her information. Okay, all right. All right, is there anyone here wishing to speak for or against this item? Going once, going twice, all right. Seeing none, hearing none. All right, we did not receive any comments, written or otherwise, through staff. So we're to staff and commission applicant discussion. Commissioners?
I was the one that brought up some stuff, and I don't want her to take this the wrong way whatsoever, but being a massage business, sometimes it's connected to things that we don't want in Pearland. And so I did some research on it. She came up on a site called Rub Maps. That had everybody concerned. That's the reason why we asked to table it. I've got a friend of mine that's also is opposition to human trafficking, and they have a subscription to Rub Maps, and it come back with her record in her business and net in the Heights is squeaky clean. Everybody had good things to say about her. It just goes to show that sometimes when you come up on those sites, it's not always a bad thing. So everything we found out about her and stuff was stellar. As far as I'm concerned, I don't know if anybody has any concerns about it being close to the school. I really don't. I'm pro-business for our city. And, all I can say is we welcome you to our business, and look forward to having you as a citizen here in Pearland and with the business and stuff. But I'm sorry that we had to do it this way, but it's always nice to talk to the owner and have them there for questions and stuff, especially when something like that came up. So, we just like to do our due diligence, and we just felt like that we needed a little bit more time to research it. All right.
Very good. We appreciate that very much.
I just wanted to ask the applicant, would this be her first time owning a massage establishment, or what is her background? I wasn't at that meeting, so apologies.
Natalie owns a successful massage business in the Houston Heights. Been there for several years.
5 years.
5 years.
Okay, this isn't something that I would have a problem with. I know you're close to the high school, but there's another massage establishment that's not that far away either. So as long as you stay within the business hours, I'm fine with this. I would be for it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would be fine with it as well.
Thank you.
I also had some questions for the owner prior, in light of Commissioner Eisenberg's words tonight. I don't have any questions, and I wish you the best. The city does have some pretty strict ordinances with massage establishments. I'm assuming you know what those are and understand those and would abide by those. And if that's the case, welcome to Pearland, and thank you for showing up.
Thank you, sir.
I want to thank you for showing up. This is Commissioner McCatherine. My only question last time was, what type of massages do you do? And I believe that question was answered successfully.
Okay. Thai massage, I have really professional masseurs working with me. I work there like a 5 year and I have 10-year experience. The mostly Thai massage, and we do like a Thai combination. We do use the hot stone, hot lock on the body, and we do like a Thai yoga stretching on the table. And mostly, we do at the height area. We walk on the body because we learn about anatomy. We learn 500 hours from here, and I learn 500 from Thailand. And then mostly the people come to us. They really high recommend. You can go to the Yelp. We are Thai massage. We have 5-star review, like 138 right now. And I just like a 5 year in business because, and people love us. Mostly the people come to get massage, like a woman. And, I have a lot of doctor. I have a lot of like a professional come to get massage. And I think we do very good job and people love us also. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't have any objections to this business being in Pearland. I welcome you as well.
Commissioner Kuhn, I don't have any questions for you, and I wish you best of luck, and sorry it had to take so long to get your approval.
Pardon me to interrupt. I just wanted to put out one more thing. Ms. Canada currently is the owner of the store in suite number 130, directly next door. Her daughter is the manager of the Mia Thai Tea Shop, which has been there for 2 years. 2 years, and that business is doing fine as well. So she's familiar with the neighborhood and enjoys being a business owner in Pearland. So we've already got that established. So she's already at home there.
All right. Mr. McDonald, I did have a question for you real quick. Is looking at the pictures on Google Maps, but there's another, is it One Body Med Spa in the same center as well? Or is that this, it looks like it's Mai Tai Tea and then maybe an empty location, and then it looks like Suite 140.
Yes. I know that area. They do more like Botox and for the beauty. I think they don't do massage like on the table. I think they do more like a body scrub something.
Okay.
Because I went there one time also.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just curious. As presented, I would not have any issue with it either. I honestly not real excited about it being in front of the high school. Sorry, just my personal opinion of it. That said, I feel like you have a history, you know what you're doing. As long as you adhere to city's regulations, visibility through the windows and hours and that kind of thing, then good luck to you. Welcome. So I would be for it as well as presented, as long as it adheres to the rules and regulations of the city of Pearland. So as my rough count, it would be 7-0 for it. That would be, is that correct? Everyone's comfortable? Okay. So as commissioners, we would, if we could vote 7-0 for it. So it will go to city council on the 22nd, May 22nd for the final approval or further.
Thank
discussion.
you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here, both of you. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you all for your time and support. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you. We are to item number 2 of new business, consideration of possible action, zone change application, zone 23-01, public hearing request by Jeff, and I'm going to apologize, it's either Cajun or close to a Butte, Windrose Land Services, application on behalf of PHE Fight Interest LP, Signature Companies, and Tranquility Lake Estates LLC, owner, for approval of a zone change for 14.857 acres of land from the General Business GB District to Planned Development PD District to accommodate a proposed mixed-use townhouse community in approximately 109 single-family lots, open space, and a retail component on the hard corner of Cullen Parkway and Fight Road, general location being the northeast corner of Cullen Parkway and Fight Road. Do I have a motion for approval?
Commissioner Hendricks, I make a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion on the table, so staff report.
Thank you, Chairman. Zone 2301 is a request for approval of a zone change for 14.857 acres of land from the General Business District, the Planned Development District, to accommodate a proposed mixed-use townhouse community with approximately 109 single-family lots, open space, and retail component that will be located at the hard corner of Cullen Parkway and Fight Road. The property location is the northeast corner of Cullen Parkway and Fight Road, about half a mile from Broadway. You may recall that a joint workshop was held, joint workshop of the City Council and the Planning and Zoning Commission was held for this proposal back in July 2018 of last year, and the intent was to provide the applicant with some feedback on this proposal, and this is something that's required by Unified Development Code. If somebody is intending to submit an application for a planned development, they have to go through this step. Some of the discussion items at the time of that meeting, the overall comments were positive feedback on the proposal back from that meeting. And some of the topics that were discussed, opposition maybe from the adjacent residential subdivisions, existing neighborhoods in that same area. In particular, one that had connection, a previous connection, like access connection to adjacent the Tranquility Lake, that was discussed at the meeting. Affordability was another item that was discussed, the price for these townhomes, access, as mentioned, amenities, and the offsite detention for this proposal, because at the time when it was discussed, this proposal would accommodate an offsite detention pond. We have our city engineer here. If there are any questions that I cannot answer, our city engineer is available here for any questions regarding that offsite detention. So moving along, staff published the notice in the newspaper, also sent a notice of the hearing to adjacent property owners within 200 feet of this property. And the applicant also installed 3 signs on all 3 roads that leads up to this property. And so far, staff has received only 2 written comments. One that was largely in favor of the request, however, with some conditions. You've got copies of those comments. The other one wasn't in favor or in opposition, but was just more, they just have more concerns about the request, and they mentioned things like making sure the quality and the value of the homes, that there will be assurances for quality and value of the homes and to be built. And also another issue was the gate that was established or created between their subdivision and this site. That was it. I don't think we have received any phone calls regarding this. So moving on to the zoning exhibit, As you can see, the property is located within the general business district, which is the light red color. It is surrounded by general commercial zoning district just to the east, as well as the Tranquility Estates subdivision, which is the R1, which looks like the L shape. And then on the north side is general business again, as well as some of the properties also located on the west side. There's zone general business, and there's also a small portion that is neighborhood service. And then on the south side, neighborhood service and basically R1 and R2 and R3. Moving to the future land use designation, the property is located entirely within the retail offices services designation. As you can see it here from the map, medium density is just to the south across the street from the property. Moving on to an aerial map, and it shows the surrounding uses. Again, starting from the north side, you have an undeveloped piece of land on the north side. That piece is zone general business. Then you move to the east, you have the Tranquility Estates subdivision to the east, and then south of it, some manufacturing and warehouses. And then on the south side, you have a convenience store, as well as the Southwick subdivision, just a portion of that. And then you move on to the west side, you have the Edgewater Estates and some offices and services directly on the opposite side of Cullen Parkway. A little bit side history on this property. So I'm going to break this into two segments. The first segment is the southern two-third of that property. This was zone plan development back in 2001, and for approximately 54 townhomes and a small commercial area. So it's kind of similar to this proposed PUD that we're talking about tonight. But then it was rezoned back in 2004, again to general business district. And then that two-third remained since that time as a general business. The northern one-third was rezoned in 2006 from suburban development to general business. And then there were several rezoning requests that was presented to the Planning and Zoning Commission and City Council. At least one request reached the City Council and it was denied in 2015. That was to rezone the property to R1. The property is currently undeveloped, and according to city maps, property appeared to have no prior development, so that as far as we were able to track. Now moving on to the proposal development or proposed PUD. This is the proposed base zoning districts map, and it shows the property will be divided into two base zoning districts. The predominant portion will be a TH district with some deviations from the townhome district, and then the hard corner will be general business based district with some also additional regulations, tightening the allowable uses, because basically the general business district, the one that we have in the UDC, allows a long list of uses. The PD created just a shortened list of uses that can go into that GB district. That would exclude type of uses like automotive uses and the heavy commercial type uses. So pretty much keeps this in line with office and just retail and some services as well. I want to mention, I'll move to the design. This is the proposed design plan. Again, the overall, this is the layout, the one you see on the right side of the screen. This is the layout of the basically the PD 109, approximately 109 single family townhomes. Those will be attached product. The attachment could be 3 and 4, and they are for sale. They're not for rent. And the minimum lot area for each of those townhomes will be 2,280 square feet. Typical townhome per the townhome district is 3,000 square feet. This will be about 2,300. As mentioned, the number of lots is 109. And now getting into how the land use will be divided, is about 5.7 acres will be for the single family, for the townhomes. 1.87 that will be for the hard corner. That will be for the general commercial district, and the rest of it will be open space and recreation, and also the internal driveways, and it will be all maintained by the HOA. Moving to the landscape plan, the landscape plan basically will be for the townhome district, will be provided in accordance with the UDC, and as well as this landscape plan, and it will include approved trees, large trees and small trees from the city approved list. The caliper inches will be 1 per 10 lineal feet of frontage along the perimeter. And for the GB, the landscaping will be provided in accordance with the corridor overlay district. I should mention that Cullen Parkway is designated as a corridor overlay district, which usually comes with additional caliper inches and additional enhancement for landscaping and buffering and things like that. Moving to the amenity plan, the amenity plan include decomposed granite trails throughout the subdivision, as you can see there, decorative concrete and a gated entry, and a pre-manufactured gazebo that will be in the centralized or the focus area with a flower garden. And I think they also have some landscaping scattered throughout the development. Everything for the GB district will be in accordance with the GB district as far as landscaping. And also want to mention something about the screening walls. The developer will construct a minimum 6-foot high masonry screening wall, screen the townhomes from the adjacent properties along the east and the north. So it will be totally screened with a masonry screening wall. And we have some examples of the walls that they're presenting. I will show them in a minute. And they're also providing a 6-foot masonry screen wall for any townhome that would be abutting the rear of those townhomes that will be facing either Cullen or Flight Road. So they will screen that with a masonry screening wall. This is the deviation table. Again, mentioned like for the townhomes, some of the deviations they're listing include the lot area. Again, minimum lot area for townhome for the district is 3,000. They're proposing 2,300, approximately 2,300 square feet. Minimum lot width is 30. That will be reduced to 24. Lot depths from 90 will be increased to 95. Lot coverage from 50 would increase to 58%. And there are also some regulations, deviation for setbacks, side setbacks. With regard to the corridor overlay district, as mentioned, this property is subject to corridor overlay district. There is a requirement for any screening fencing that will be along the corridor overlay district to be set back 25 feet. This will be reduced to 15 so that they can capture some of that area within their landscape area that will be abutting Cullen Parkway. That screen fence would be a decorative fence. I think they're proposing a decorative fence that will have a transparent. So it's a combination of masonry and wrought iron, so that can have that transparency there. As far as the building facades, they are proposing for the retail to have 80% masonry for the front, 50% for side and rear, but they will increase it to 80% if that facade faces either Cullen or Flight Road. Townhomes will be 100% masonry on the front, side, and rear. And here are some of the fencing and the walls that they're proposing to utilize. At least you can see from the top left, that's kind of the combination of the wrought iron and wrought iron and the masonry columns there. Now moving to the facade again, those are the 3-unit building. It's as the PD stipulates, it will be 100% masonry products on pretty much all sides. These are some elevations here. These are the floor plans for the 3 unit attachments. And then you have the 4 units here. Again, same material that will be used. And these are the elevations. And those are the floor plans for those 4 unit attachments here. This is another elevation. They are using here a combination. In some of them, they're using brick. Here, they're using a stone on the elevation. This one has brick on it. And then I have a few slides or a few street views from Cullen Parkway. This is looking directly to the site. Again, the site is currently not developed. And this view from Fight Road looking directly to the north. You can see the property across the street from Fight Road there. And this is a view taken just right from the corner of Cullen Parkway and Fight, looking directly back towards that property there. Now moving on to criteria for establishing a planned unit development. So there are 8 criteria for establishing. If someone wants to establish a new PD, they have to fit into one of those 8 categories. And I think based on staff analysis, they fit into 2 at least. The rest of them will be applicable here. The first one would be this land is established near residential neighborhoods where convention zoning classification may not adequately address neighborhood concerns. So this will allow the commission and the city council to add any conditions and regulations to ensure compatibility and quality of the development. And the second one is that this area is located in a transition zone, and as you can see, there are some existing non-residential uses in that same area, as well as some established neighborhoods just to the south. So this kind of serves that kind of transition between these 2 land uses. And as far as conformity table, the proposed PD is consistent with the GB, not consistent with that retail office and services that was mentioned in that future land use designation, but at least they have a portion of the PD that would be designated for that purpose. Cullen Parkway is a secondary thoroughfare with sufficient width. Fight Road is a major collector to be widened, and there are utilities within the area along Fight and along Cullen Parkway. Criteria for approval of a planned development. The proposed use is consistent with all of the approved criteria here. And with that being said, staff recommends approval of the PD as presented. And that concludes the staff report. I apologize, it's a very lengthy report. Thank you.
Good job. Thank you very much, Mohammed. Is the applicant here for their presentation?
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the Planning Commission. My name is Jeff Boutte. It is Boutte, Cajun.
Get close.
Grew up in Texas, but when I got older and went to Louisiana, I found out they actually say Boutte. So, you learn something. But yeah, so we really don't have a formal presentation here tonight. I want to thank Mohammed for walking us through the staff's presentation. I'm here. I'm with Windrose Land Services. So we are the surveyor of record for the property and put together the land development application itself. Here with me are representatives from the developer, as well as from the property owners. So we would just like to be available for questions if anyone has any. Just a brief word about the project. Yes, we feel it's a good spot for a transitional type development between the more higher intensity uses along Broadway and the more predominantly single family lower intensity uses to the south. We do plan to come back once the PD, if it is approved tonight and gets through council, and plat these as individual lots for sale by filing a plat on the property as soon as this zoning change would be approved. And with that, we'll open it up for questions and discussion.
All righty, sir. Thank you very much. we're to the point now where we have the ability to have speakers come, those wishing to speak for or against. We have about a half a dozen comment cards here, along with the two emails that were received. We have been presented with those and have read those. So what we're going to do is I'm going to read the name of the individual. If you'd step to the podium, state your name, your address, and please try to keep it to the 3 minutes as much as possible. I'm sure y'all want to enjoy your evening as much as everybody else does. So, but just be to the point, and I'm sure you have good comments that we want to hear. So, the first person on the speaker's card I have, it looks like George Patina. I apologize. If you'll just state your name and your address, and then you'll have 3 minutes.
Yes, thank you. Good evening. Jorge Patino, 8021 Serenity Drive. We are neighbors of the new development. Basically here, we just, by myself, I'm not opposed, but something that really is concerning to me is the size of the townhouse. The recommendation is for 3,000, these are for 2,200, and that my concern is the traffic going through the area, and really don't like that. Another thing is the cul-de-sac that we have inside. There's no information if that's going to be used or is going to be gated. We really don't like to have that traffic going through our subdivision or any construction going through. Also, the drainage. Didn't see any drainage plan. We have a pound that we pay a lot of money to get maintenance, and that's something that we don't like, or I don't like to pay more because of they are dumping more water. Pretty much that's my concerns. Thank you.
All righty, sir. Thank you. Thank you for coming this evening. I have a clock up here, so I may do 1, 2, just so you know, in case just to let you know kind of what time we're on here. The next speaker I have here is, it looks like Andrea Hall. Ms. Hall, you'll state your name and address, and then try to keep your comments to the 3 minutes. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Andrea Hall, and my property is located at 8009 Serenity Drive, Pearland. Let me first say that I will do agree to have this development, but I am also concerned about these certain criteria that I need to be implemented if I am going to go ahead with saying yes to this development. And number one, the safety. So number one is the developers can guarantee our safety and the safety of our community, not by verbatim, but written. We want transparency on that matter. We know that in this construction, we're going to have a lot of heavy equipment like cement trucks and all of that. We do not want to have those heavy utility equipment on our property. I know in construction we do have those things can happen. So we do not want it on Serenity Drive or also on Tranquility Lakes. The cul-de-sac, which is our main concern, that cul-de-sac, we would not like to, we want the cul-de-sac to still remain intact. That is on Serenity Drive. We were promised that we were going to get like a fire gate. We haven't seen any fire. We haven't seen one constructed as yet from Renee time, but we want that to make sure that cul-de-sac is still intact to keep our little community private. We do not want to have a flood-prone community after development, so we want those things to be taken care of in the infrastructure, in the planning, in the whole development part of it. because we do not want to be left as property owners to pay a higher home insurance rate for flood damages. So we are told that we're going to have these mixed-use townhouse community, like what you have just stated, with 109 single-family detached lots, etc., etc. What we do want is that it is consistent to our current property value. We do not want any development done that is, quote unquote, below par. We want a written documentation stating how will us as property owners be compensated for damages done to our health and our property, if that's supposed to happen. Also, I am a person who, I'm an environmental conscious, and I like to see ecosystem still intact. So I know I like to see greeneries. So all those trees that are there, if in the development phase, you can take those trees into consideration, or the greenery into consideration.
Okay, Ms. Hall, that's 3 minutes. If you had a few extra last few minutes, comments.
That's it.
Okay.
Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time. We all do. Next speaker I have is, it's either Harp KC or KC Harp. If you'll state your name and address for us, and then again, we'll do 3 minutes.
Right. Good evening. This is Hari KC. My address is 8028 Serenity Drive. And thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to be here since I received the letter from the city. So basically, my concern is for the kids' safety. I have 2 kids. That is the reason behind, I bought the house. That is the deadline area. So they can play over there and no more traffic. So since the construction, start, there will be a lot of traffic and we have an open space there. So I have a very serious concern. If that is something, the open space where we are saying right now, the fire gates, if that is something we can close before we start the constructions, that would be great. So otherwise, a lot of traffic's going on, a lot of people in the construction area. So we don't know, we have a very small kids over there. So what will happen, right? So this is one thing. And the other thing that I have, trying to make, my concern is not to transport any construction materials from our community. So this is something very important, That is also the concern regarding to the kids. So they're playing over there. So that is the reason behind we paid a little bit more money for the lots, while I decided to buy the house. So this is, I'm very close by 200 meters. So this is my concern. The most of the points already came here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your time. Next speaker's card I have is Fran Goundry. Ms. Goundry, you'll just state your name and address, please. And again, 3 minutes, as best as possible. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Fran Goundry, 8020 Serenity Drive in Tranquility Lake. On behalf of Tranquility Lake Estates, I serve as the president of the POA, and at one of our meetings back in June, we try to keep an open line of communication with Renee McGuire. And at that point in time, she did share with us this plan to see what our feelings would be about it, which we really appreciated. We are in favor of the plan. However, as many of my other homeowners mentioned, there are a few things that we were promised and or mentioned during this meeting time, and some of those have been mentioned. One is that the cul-de-sac remains a cul-de-sac, and that we have a fire gate, emergency gate, there at that end of that cul-de-sac. We would have no through traffic from construction because obviously as homeowners, we are responsible for those roads. Second, the price of the home at that time was quoted to us at $350 plus. To be of consistent value with the current homes that are in that community, anything below that would devalue what we've put into our homes. So we're looking for something that is of at least of that match value and or greater. We also at that time were told about the builder. We'd like to know more information about the builder. At the time it was Cahovian, which is the builder that built our homes. And that consistency for that neighborhood, I think, is important, again, for resale value. As our home value goes up, so do our taxes, but we'd like to keep that value consistent. I think overall, it's just the transparency of communication. If the builders are able to provide us with the information up front and no surprises, I think we'll be much happier and welcome this new development into that community and embrace these new family members into the community because we're a community of only 23 houses. So, so long as the aesthetics of what you showed us are compliant and matching what we have, I think the community members would be in favor, provided all those other things I mentioned. So thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. And real quick, Ms. Gowdry, are you here representing yourself or the HOA, just for clarification?
Both.
Okay. What's the HOA's name?
Tranquility Lake Estates, POA.
Okay. Counsel, legal counsel, does that clarify that?
She didn't have 5 minutes, so she's speaking on behalf of herself. And that allows the other people who have signed up to speak as well with their 3 minutes.
Okay, just making sure. Next speaker I have is, and thank you very much, appreciate your time. It's Shiny Joy, Miss Joy. You'll state your name and address and then the 3 minutes, please.
Good evening, and thank you so much for allowing me this time. My name is Shiny Joy. We live in 3018 Tranquility Lake Estates Boulevard. Looking at the presentation of the development, it looks pretty pleasing. The only concerns as resident of this community, like all my other neighbors just mentioned, we are a very small community of only 23 families. We just want to keep that community small as possible for us to be knowing each other. And the concern was the size of the home, like somebody else said, should be compatible or something reasonable to what, not the lots, at least the space in the homes should be reasonable to something compatible to what is around. Concern for the cul-de-sac, like other neighbors mentioned. We were promised when we bought the home 2 years ago that will be closed soon. It's more than 2.5 years. We're still waiting for that to be, the cul-de-sac to be closed, that opening. We really want to assure that the property value of our home stays. That's also a concern because we all know we moved to Pearland from a different city because we love the city. So we want to hopefully stay here for some more years. Thank you so much for this time.
Thank you, ma'am. The last card I have, and if there's anyone else that didn't fill out one of these cards and wants to make a comment, they're in the back in the breezeway there. Please do so. But Satish Kamal, if you state your name and address, and then 2 minutes.
No, sir, we don't have a process for yielding time to somebody else. So,
yeah.
Mr. Kamal can either speak his 3 minutes or he could just say he concurs with what everybody else said.
Okay. Yeah, if you'll just step to the podium and.
Hi, good evening. My name is Satish Kaimal. I'm staying 3014 Tranquility Estate. I'm a new resident over there. That's why I don't have any much concern about that, because that's why I would like to request to give my time to my POI president or someone else. That's why I requested. Sorry.
I understand, sir. However, we don't have a process to elongate time like that. If somebody wants to speak on behalf of an organization, the HOA representative here, they would normally speak, they would get 5 minutes, and then nobody else from that organization would speak. So if you'd like to provide us any additional comments, you're welcome to do so. Or you could just say you agree with what everybody else has said, if that's what...
Of course, I agree with what they said. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your time. All right. Anyone else wishing to speak for or against this item? All right. Seeing none, hearing none. All right. Staff, commission, applicant discussion. Commissioners?
A couple of questions to staff. What I'm hearing the major concerns are from the citizens that didn't get, in my mind, didn't get touched on yet was the status of the cul-de-sac that's existing currently on Serenity Drive and through traffic for trucks, what have you, construction trucks is what I heard were some of the main concerns.
Thank you, Mr. Forte. So my understanding, Tranquility Lakes, Tranquility Estates was developed approximately 4 or 5 years ago, maybe a little bit longer than that. But when it was platted with this cul-de-sac that you see at the end, at the western edge of that subdivision. And I think it was intended to have that fire gate. They're supposed to have, per the fire code, a secondary access. And so it was established in that plat with that secondary access to connect maybe in the future to the adjacent property. So, but I don't believe it was intended to allow cross access for residents. It was strictly emergency access. That's my understanding. And but the developer of that subdivision, I think he's here, Mr. Barnett. He can speak to that. But as far as supply goes, it was just for emergency access.
Okay. If the applicant's here or a representative that could answer that, it'd be wonderful.
Sure, yes. On the design plan, you'll see that it says emergency gate at the cul-de-sac. And so it's my understanding, and I believe the intent of the applicant is that that is not to be used for through traffic. The gate would be there for emergency purposes only. The right-of-way would transition to a private street in the townhome community, and the access would be off of the major roads, Cullen and Fight. Yeah, so emergency access only.
Thank you. And most of my questions, I think, are going to be to you if you want to, rather than doing the aerobic stand-up, sit down. Okay. Just from a history standpoint, I know this site has had its challenges. I think you guys came up here, Mr. Barima pointed out, have come up here in the past. What I recall is that the neighbors came out and were concerned that it was just that northern portion being developed, and I want to say it was homes. I don't recall exactly what it was, but I know there was the similar concerns of traffic, through traffic, and some of the homeowners felt like they purchased the homes with the understanding, misled, or just they thought it was going to remain a cul-de-sac. So you know, I know that's been important to the neighbors for quite some time. And you look familiar, sir. I think you were here that night.
Yes, I was.
If you have something to add, that's fine. I just wanted to share that it has been there's a history here of challenges for the site owner.
Well,
when we platted that, Mom, and you did great before, you know, when we platted that, we said when we build something through there, we'd put when we developed that, we'd put a fire gate in. So if you'll remember when I was here, Miss Evans had also objected, which she had a 20% or more adjacent property owner. And we listened to obviously, Tranquility. You know, they want this. They've always said they wanted single family, and we came together with, you guys said the objection was no through traffic, don't take my cul-de-sac. We heard that. This is being developed separately from Tranquility. There's no effect. Well, the gate will go in, there's no traffic, there's nothing for them. But we came together with Miss Evans, or a compromise, because she had objected about it being a transition site. So you see, we've come together, we've worked well for the last year, and this is the fruits of our labor. And then the developer, I don't want to take away from you guys' work, but we're selling this. I'm selling this tract to the developer, so I'm not in the development. We've typically looked out for the whole thing. So we came together, we solved the issues that were raised. It's not to be not transparent, but none of the concerns you brought up are I'm not going to say not valid, but they're not going to materialize. They're not taking the cul-de-sac, we're building the gate through, and so forth. So I'm going to leave it at that.
Mr. Barnett, while I know who you are, the record does not.
You know who I am. Okay,
So
I'm Justin Barnett. I'm with R West Development, 6302 Broadway.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for that. A couple more questions. I noticed the GB on the corner versus the townhome portion. Is that going to be joint shared access between the two? Because all I saw was the drive cuts for the community.
Yes, on the design plan, it may be hard to see, but there is a fire lane exit onto Fight Road as well on the south. We do intend to allow access between the townhome and GB district, even though there's going to be a appropriate screening wall as shown. We felt that it would be better to include the corner in this PD application so that there'd be a consistent design aesthetic between the two sites. And so that's why you see it there. And as I said, there is some access there.
If you could leave it on this drawing. On the Cullen side, I notice it says gate at the northern entrance. What I don't see is a gate to the south on Fight. Are they all going to be gated, or only a couple of them?
Let me get clarification on that. Yes, that's all gated. Yeah, all the exits.
Okay. And then last couple of questions here. Builder, do you have a builder in mind already, or are you going to develop and then sell the lots to a builder who will then sell to the public?
No builder in mind yet, no.
Okay. All right. So I guess at that point, the follow-up question would be, what would the sizes be of the townhomes themselves? I think 2280 was the size of the lots. Do you have a range at all in mind? And again, that without the builder being here, I don't know that you could really answer that specifically. Oh, yes, y'all had it on another exhibit and I missed it?
Yes, sir. My name is Kevin Stuckey. I'm with the development entity. There are 3 floor plans that have been proposed. There are 1,400, 1,500, 1,600. Blended average on the units is 1,532 square feet.
All right.
There are 3 and 4 bedrooms.
Okay. That really concludes my questions and comments. Again, I do sympathize with the landowners. I know. I'll let that for somebody else. I do know that they've come back to the city multiple times, and I know how inconvenient that can be, and it's a lot of work.
So I appreciate the presentations. I appreciate very much the citizen input and their concerns, and I appreciate you addressing them. So I'll yield to somebody else.
Thank you. I just have a couple of questions and kind of wanting to address some of the concerns that the citizens had as well. Concerning how many units there are going to be, I see there was 109. And this had previously, to Commissioner Fortes's point, this site has had a lot of challenges over the years, and it was previously 54 units, and now we're at 109. So when I saw the visual, the first thing I thought was we have Tranquility with 23 homes, and then this at 109, and it just felt compact. And to speak to the existing traffic that is already there and those concerns, I just wondered about how that fits with the current neighborhood that's there, coupled with the fact of what the price point is going to be that compact and to be deviating from the norms that we have for what the townhome requirements are, to come in and think that there's going to be a $350,000 price point is just unrealistic, and it's unreasonable for the type of property that a future owner is going to be receiving. And I know I just said a lot with that, but I do want you to address that 109 numbers. That's something that you're set with.
Yeah, so in Mohammed's opening comments, he did mention that there were 54 units proposed, but that was on about 2/3 of the site. And so when you expand out to the full, I believe the single family area is about 12 acres. So we're fairly close to the density that was proposed before. As I said, that 54 was on 2/3 of the site, and this is on all of it. And in questioning the density or the size, the comprehensive plan for the city does show this as a more intense active area for usage. So the medium density residentials to the south, as I mentioned, you have some more active office, retail, and service uses to the north. And so the townhomes density here really serves as an appropriate transition, we feel, between the active uses on Broadway and the more suburban single family style to the south.
Right.
The plan also does have appropriate buffers between the townhomes and the single family that's to the east, and there's also quite a bit of open space that's built into the plan as well. So although the units or the lot sizes may be smaller, there's a great deal of open space. I believe more than was intended in the normal townhome district that would be required. So more open space, and these lots are actually, even though they're a bit more narrow, they're a bit deeper in depth than the normal regulations.
Okay, and so it is still going to currently be that $350,000 price point, and I remember that Mohammed gave a note saying that when we met around this time last year, it was the 200s and then the lower 300s. So just wanting to see about where we are concerning a price point for this development.
Yes, that is still the goal, is 350.
350. Okay. And I know that within this, we're just voting to zone this or not. And I wanted to also say that for the citizens that are here today as well, I know we're not going to be able to tie conditions to this zoning. The conditions would be tied to the development. And from what we've heard today, there's a lot of positive feedback while concerns about what the development will look like, but it seems that everyone is in favor of the development moving forward, and for that portion of it, it would be first approving a zone change that would allow for the development. So I will save the additional commentary for the next portion, but I would be in favor of the actual zone change that will lead us to the development, where you'll hear a little more criticism. Thank you.
I see, Lawrence, you want to address that? I can go ahead and address one of the comments from Commissioner Boswell with regard to the 54 first. So basically this line here, that was the original plan development that was done in 2004. So it was just 2/3. So, and it did include a portion of a commercial development when it was done back then. So it didn't include the 14 acres. Just wanted to clarify that. Now, with regard to adding conditions to the zone change, this is being a planned development. You do have the ability to add conditions. If it was a straight zoning from GB to TH, you won't be able to have that to add conditions. But with planned development, you can add any condition or strings that you would like that you may feel appropriate.
And while Muhammad may giveth, Lawrence will taketh away. I don't think that you can add any condition. I mean, there are some limitations on what you can and can't do. For example, you typically wouldn't be able to dictate the price point of a home. However, you could dictate things that can affect the price point of a home. So you can say, I don't know what it would be, but traditionally size, space, materials, those things can affect the price of a home. And that's how you hold on to that value. The Texas legislature has struggled with, or perhaps not struggled, easily taken away some of those things, like building materials traditionally aren't something that you can regulate. However, in a PD, because it is a negotiation and it's a contract between the developer and us, there is room to say that that is something that you can regulate with building materials. But as you've heard from the developer and as we've known in the Pearland market, there's going to be a certain price point. You're not going to be able to say you have to achieve X, but to get the value out, and I'm sure that there's a value business proposition from the developers team. They know exactly what the yield has to be, and they know what the market in the area is. And if they build below that, they know that they're not going to be able to have a successful, viable project in the Pearland community.
So what's the conclusion? Can I tie conditions or no?
There are conditions that you can recommend. However, a price point would not be a valid condition.
Okay.
So typically it's going to be things like density, size, space,
Well, no, I'm
building
not
materials.
trying to regulate a price point, but to me, the price point needs to be justified, which to your point would be what are the materials, what is the square footage, because that would
Yes, ma'am.
contribute to a price point.
Absolutely. It's a little bit tougher to compare the single-family development to the right to a townhome development, and that's what the PD is. But if you know what those things are, you can absolutely recommend those as conditions.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Boswell pretty much stated everything I wanted to, other than I agree with her. Some of the conditionals amendments that we need to guarantee in writing that there will be a fire gate, that there will not be any traffic traveling through Serenity, especially during construction, just strictly emergency only. And also I think that another condition should be that the materials that are used are like materials as the existing homes in Serenity and Tranquility Estates. We haven't, of course, we haven't seen a product, and like Commissioner Boswell said, that it's a lost my train of thought. Yeah, it's just a rezone, and in that, that's all that we're really concerned with tonight is just rezoning the dirt. We will have an opportunity later on to bring it back, and we can discuss the building part of it once they come in here and they've platted it. So, I'm going to be for it. I think that all the citizens that showed up, every one of y'all said that y'all are not opposed to it. Mrs. Hall, you had made the statement that guarantee the safety, the making sure that you don't flood. Those things guarantee safety. Nobody can. I mean, that's not going to ever. That's beyond their control. But the flooding and stuff is within their control. But the state regulates that also. It does not let them put water off on you, and they have to make sure that they mitigate that water somewhere else. So you will be safe as far as that type of stuff is concerned. And if you weren't, then you have an opportunity to go back and seek damages. But as far as safety, that goes back on our police department, our fire department, and such as that, which we have an outstanding police and fire department. So I hope that you feel safe in Pearland. I know that I moved here to be safe, and so far for 23 years, I've felt very much that way. So, all right, thank you.
Mr. Eisenberg, if I could just clarify on one of the issues that you had suggested with this development team trying to match consistency with the Serenity that would be closed off at that cul-de-sac there, and that is that other property is just a straight zoning. And the city does not regulate the materials, the elevations, and those things for that straight zoning. So if there are materials or elevations or products that you want, you could suggest it be something consistent with what's inside the proposal, because that is something that you could regulate unless there's a deed restriction stating otherwise, which the city doesn't enforce. If a house were to have an unfortunate event and have to be rebuilt in that other neighborhood, it could be anything. I mean, we don't have control over those building materials other than as long as it's something that's inside the building code, the approved building code. So actually, within the last 3 approved building codes.
Okay, so as far as making an amendment to this proposal, it wouldn't be done at this time?
It could be done at this time, yes, sir.
Okay.
That would be the recommendation. And then Mohammed might have better access to where this is and the actual PD. Do you have the building materials and references to them?
Yes, I can go ahead and navigate that. Just give me a few minutes. Also, Jeff, if you recall, I think there's a list of building materials that would be used on the townhome sections in the PD. Jeff, if you remember, you can speak to it, and I'll navigate it here from the staff report.
Yeah, there is a section in the PD that spells out what building materials would be considered masonry, and there's also townhome elevations for both the 3-unit and the 4-unit type with a color palette. So you'll see the accepted materials are in the PD, and there is also, as I said, a color palette that's mentioned. I'm navigating to that page as well, and I can...
So the elevations are Exhibit G. I can see to the PD, and then I'm looking for the materials component.
It's going to be Section B, zoning and land use, B3-4. That's for the that's for the retail district. The townhome district would be the next section. And in the PD, it says masonry is defined as brick, textured concrete, concrete blocks, stone, and stucco, including textured stucco panel. So there's a description of the masonry materials, and there's also percentages of masonry required on each side of the townhomes. And then you'll see on the exhibits the materials, a visual representation, as well as a color palette.
So it's going to be pages 15 and 16 of 62 for the entire PDF, if that's what you're using, Mohammed.
Yeah. I'm trying to open the online version. Give me a second. It's just taking a little bit of time to download here.
while Muhammad's pulling that up, if I may. Good. If I pulled back out at a 10,000 foot level instead of being so close to just the nearest neighbors, surrounding the lake, you have multifamily projects, the entire lake. The only thing that's not multifamily pretty much is your community. So to put a townhome project that's a sellable, not a rental, but a sellable townhome project, I guess that's why I didn't even address that part of it, because I figured, from a regional standpoint, taking a step out, it really does, it will blend in more so than I think we're thinking right now. But anyways, I was just saying that while we're waiting.
Yeah, I think aesthetically, if it matches the product of y'all's subdivision, that's what I'm looking for. I mean, I don't want a product on the ground that how it was presented in the drawings up here. I know that's not a set deal, but that's a good product. It looks like it's got the brick and the stonework, and it's a similar product to the neighbors next to you. And I mean, if I lived in that subdivision, I wouldn't mind this transitionary product either. I mean, you've got commercial product right behind you, a warehouse facility, and then you've got multifamily across the street. So it's kind of I think this is a good transition, and the fact that you're able to sell the product versus a rental unit typically would bring up someone wanting to be long-term part of our community and a good neighbor to the existing neighbors that are there, and you don't want to upset the apple cart, or however you want to call it, with the existing folks that have invested in the community and are there and just happen to be the first one. So I think as long as what I'm looking for is to tie in a similar product that was what was presented to the product that would be the end use. So, that's what I'm going to be. I don't know if I can tie in a restriction or requirement, but that's what I'm looking for. It's something to make sure that the neighbors have a similar, who are existingly there, have a similar product behind them or next to them.
So what you see here within this masonry section that talks about the brick and the textured concrete, those are the typical residential homes material that will be used with the concrete block and stone, stucco. So those are just typical residential construction materials. So.
If I may, I would like to clarify one point in particular. We are developing individual lots. These are fee simple lots. A townhome can be sold individually. To whom we sell the tract once it's developed has not been determined. What they would choose to do with it, if they chose to build and build for sale, that would be their choice. If they chose to build it and own it and lease it, they could do that. What we will impose upon the development is an HOA, so we know that it will be managed properly. But I'm not in a position to tell you today that 2 years from now, when this is built out, that there won't be a rental unit there. Not a unit, but the development would not be a for rent community. It could be. I'm not in the position to say that today. But I want to make sure everybody was aware of that.
This is Commissioner McCatherine, and I just have a couple of comments. First, thank you, citizens, for coming out, and I appreciate your concerns. As you know, there is a difference between the value of a townhome and the value of a single-family home. And as has been mentioned, this is a nice transition because there are multifamily units, apartments, not very far from where you are. So that whole area is has single family and multifamily in it. Right now, it's currently zoned as general business, and there's a laundry list of businesses that could go in there without any further approval from this commission. We're only looking at a zone change. So I'll just ask you, and think in yourself, and I'm not asking for feedback, do you want a 7-Eleven gas station in your backyard, or would you rather have townhomes? If I was a homeowner, I would want the townhomes because it's more consistent with where you live and what goes in your neighborhood. Now, given the fact that they don't know if it's going to be rental or ownership, I assume townhomes were going to be ownership. For the most part, I'm in favor of this project because I do think it would be a good move for the community, the area, and I know the area quite well, and I think it would be really nice to have some new build construction in that vicinity. Thank you.
This is Commissioner Hendricks. So just last week, we had our Pearland 2040 vision to update our planning for our community. And one of the most common things that keeps coming up from the school district superintendents is that they cannot attract teachers here because they can't afford to buy a house. I see this project as possibly a way for them to afford something to live here. They want to live and work where they teach. So right now they're all going to Alvin. And I think this is a product that can provide housing for our police officers and our firefighters and our teachers and city officials. And I think just keep that in mind. I don't think that the townhomes are going to, sell for the same price as your really nice homes. But I do think that they provide opportunity for those, recently graduated college students. Some of you guys have children that may be in college, and they want to live in the same community as their parents. And so they're not going to be able to afford a $350,000, $400,000 home. And we need to keep that in mind going forward in our community, that we have to have this alternative type housing. We don't want poor, homes, but we definitely need to offer other types of housing for those that are coming out of school and they have a lot of debt and they just want to live and work in their community. And so I hope that this ends up being not for rent, but for homes that we can put on the ground, because right now we don't have enough homes on the ground to serve the growth in our area. And it is driving up the prices in the inflation of building products in general. So I do hope that it is for sell, not rent. That would be one of those things that I wish it could happen. And I'm definitely for this project.
Okay. Any other discussion from commissioners? Commissioner Coon? No? Okay. All right. So we have a motion and a second. Is there anybody that would like to modify the motion or change the existing motion as presented?
Okay, you're going to have to help me.
Before I help you, let me just clarify. If you look at what's on the screen there, I think that's on page 15. Is that correct, Mohammed?
I don't know what that page is, but I can.
Yeah, I think that's
scroll down.
page.
So it's already
It's
there.
in the top left corner over there. You're on page 16.
Yes.
Page 16 says that the townhomes were going to be done in accordance with the elevations on number 2. So it's just a little bit up. Sorry, Mohammed. Just a little bit more. There you go. So the townhome-based district, the building elevations and color palette for the townhomes will be as shown on Exhibit G. And then if you go to the top left corner, where you'll see page 16 of 62, I think you want page 29. That's Exhibit G that has the elevation and the color palette. So this is the product that you should expect to have.
Yeah, at least one of them. There are several iteration of that same. Yeah, you see some different colors for the bricks, and
The only question I had would be that they don't have a builder yet. So all builders will have to adhere to this.
If a different builder wants a different product, as Exhibit G is being adopted as part of this PD, that new builder will have to come in for a zone change and change out Exhibit G. And that would be something that you would get to review because it is a PD amendment. They'd have to notify people within the distance of that PD, which include the same people that got noticed today and showed up today. And of course, when it goes to the HOA, you know that it's going to be distributed even to the people who are beyond the notification area. And everybody will have a chance to come in and voice their concerns about whatever the building materials are, the product is, the elevations are, the color palette, whatever is locked in by this ordinance, they would have the opportunity if a new builder wanted to change that. So you can traditionally have minor deviations. Those are something normally, I think of a measurement. Whatever the measurement is, something within 10 to 15%, you can deviate without having to come forward. But if it goes beyond that 15%, that's traditionally the trigger to having to come in and get permission to deviate.
All right. So any further discussion from anyone?
so if I understand correctly, the two issues that was brought by Commissioner Eisenberg was to guarantee fire access and strictly the gate that's between the cul-de-sac and the future development to be emergency access and especially during construction. And you also indicated something about building materials, which has already been discussed by Mr. Lawrence.
So the in this, it's the access gate or the fire gate has already been addressed. It's in writing that it will be used strictly as a fire gate, correct?
Staff will ensure that if that's what you like, staff will ensure that's written in the PD. I'm not 100% if there is something about that access, but we'll ensure that it's only for emergency access.
Okay, all right. Then we don't need to put it as an amendment then, right?
Right. It'll be incorporated into the PD.
Okay, all right.
All right. We've got whispering.
Sorry, I was
That's okay.
listening to Shelby. I've looked at the design plan that's been provided. I've looked at the plat that is there. I think the question is, where is that gate? Is it on the existing homeowners association's property, or is it on the new person's property? And if it's supposed to be at the end of the cul-de-sac, this builder or these property owners might not have the rights. I don't know what the rights are reserved inside their deed restrictions. They might not have the rights to go in there. So if y'all wanted to address that, those who know better, because again, I'm not involved in the deed restrictions, do you have the ability to put a gate there? Do you intend to put it on that property or on?
No, it would be on our property. And it is a fire gate only for emergency
Access with the Knox box that only the PD or the fire department has the ability.
Yeah, what we have drawn is a hammerhead turnaround, like the two for a car to pull in, back up, and exit. The other entrances, though they're secondary, they're gated also. They're not for emergency purposes, but they're gated. People can come in and out. That one is PD and fire, and emergency.
Okay, thank you, sir. And they need it on the other side to maintain they're under 30 homes, but their plat says proposed fire or proposed emergency gate. It doesn't demand it, but that's the plat. What the deed restrictions say may be a different thing, and that would be between that HOA and the developer or their private property rights. That's not something that the city regulates.
And we should recognize that emergency gate works both directions. If somebody needs to access the Tranquility Lakes Estates from the west, a vehicle can come in that way.
All right. Everybody satisfied with the presentation as presented? Okay. All right, so I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion carries 7-0. All right. We appreciate all the good neighbors being here this evening. That does include the developers. We are on to discussion items. Number 7, it says City Council Update Report.
Thank you, Chairman. This is something that are starting to include in our agenda, and basically just to highlight some of the items that went to City Council for approval. The last City Council meeting was on April 24. There was one item for conditional use permit that came before this body. It was the car wash at 12700 Shadow Creek Parkway. It was to extend that CUP, the resolution for another year, and it was approved by the City Council with a vote of 6-1. That was the only item that was that pertained to land use regulations. So that was it.
All right, great. Thank you very much. Commissioner's activity report. Anybody have any activities?
I don't really have an activity, but one thing I do want to bring up, I want to correct something that I said last meeting. I had made the statement that that on the car wash that we had approved it or turned it down and we had a positive vote. It was not that way. We were there was only one vote against it, a couple of people on the fence, and the others were okay with it. And I had made the statement that we were like 4-2 or something like that at that vote, and that was incorrect. All right.
All right. Go ahead.
Just a reminder, we had the CPAC meeting last week, and I think our comments are due by sometime this week. I know if Martin were here tonight, he would have mentioned it. So on his behalf, if anybody has time or as y'all have time to make comments on those first 80-something pages, I believe they said were the most important out of the 200 and whatever.
All right, great. Next Monday, there's a City Council and P&Z joint workshop on the 8th at 4:30. Is anyone available? I think I'm good to go. 1, 2, 3. Oh, Monday for the 4. It's at 4:30. It's early, so we should be done by like 4:45 or so, right?
Correct. This is for a public workshop, and it should take, say, 30 minutes at least.
Okay. So it looks like we have 2 that are unavailable. But. Mr. Kuhn? Yeah. Good and bad, it's early. We also have our next P&Z regular meeting, May 15th, 2023. I know one of us is out for the 15th and the next one in June. She's traveling. Anyone else know they're not available? Okay. Looks like we're all here for the next P&Z official meeting. Anything else? Hearing none, seeing none, we're adjourned at 8:09.